trial.
Drug dealers have become extremely sophisticated.
The heroin dealers deliver now to suburban homes. I mean, heroin is everywhere, and it's cheap.
It's made the transaction, and I hop right back on the highway.
We just live in a complicated society. We don't want to know that there is a problem.
Yeah, you get a real warm sensation. It kind of feels like pins and needles.
People are literally dying for help, and we're not giving them the help they need.
Unless there is intervention, the number of deaths are going to spike.
We've uncovered something. In the past 6 years, the number of heroin-related deaths has gone up by about 4,000%, and it's happening in a cluster of Atlanta's wealthy suburbs. That fact is hiding in state and county records. Here's how we found it. We requested the number of heroin-related deaths from 4 different counties. When we added up the totals from 2010 to 2016, we discovered an almost 4,000% jump. We know that there's a serious heroin problem that no one's talking about. Do we know where?
It's kind of like a triangle just north of Atlanta, and it stretches from Marietta up to Alpharetta and down to Johns Creek. A little bit of Sandy Springs and Dunwoody kind of stretches through parts of Fulton and Cobb County, and this is where we're seeing the biggest uptick in suburban heroin drug use.
At this point, officials didn't want to go on the record and say there's a heroin problem. So we went to schools, and while they were willing to talk about drug use, they didn't have specific information about heroin. But there was one group who was willing to tell everything they knew, and that was a group of moms.
My son Davis was an amazing young man.
Congratulations to the senior class of 2011.
He was junior class president, senior class president, editor of his high school yearbook, and he got involved in heroin.
This is my son Zach. Scored almost 2,100 on his SATs. An athlete. He played musical instruments. There's nothing like this. There's nothing like losing your child. There's nothing that even touches it. It's, you don't get better.
In some of the last conversations that I had with Taylor, she asked me for one thing. That I could never give her. She asked me to please understand her. And I could never understand. I kept saying, you know, just stop.
In the past 2 years, I've had 8 friends die from overdoses. Zach Vernick, Shelby Darrington, Kiana Motti. We had used painkillers before towards the end of high school. And then once the painkillers got too expensive, about 6 months later, we started using heroin. I'm tired of losing friends. I really am. It's terrible to see your friends die.
Breaking the cycle has been extremely difficult. The level of dysfunction and the amount of using, and you know, it's taken over his life.
Well, I was like 16 years old, you know, and I smoked it for the first time. The opportunity was there, you know, had I chosen to go to an Ivy League school or something like that, you know, like I could have done it. I didn't sit around as a kid and think, you know, like I want to grow up and be a junkie. I mean, I've ruined my life because of it, you know, like, I mean, I guess it sounds cliche, you know, like I lost the girl in my dreams because of it. I've lost my kid because of it, like, my family. I feel like I could be a really successful person. I mean, I grew up with, you know, a good family. There's no significant amount of clean time that I can seem to get, you know. It was definitely my escape, and now it's kind of like a chore.
Please stop. We love you.
Hey.
Hi.
How's it going?
It's depressing. It's very sad.
Sad?
Yeah.
You found more than you thought you would.
Well, yeah. There might be connections to a very high-profile person that we've covered extensively.
Next. This is so big, but it's almost like no one knows it.
They come to your door now.
How the drug is delivered door to door.
You text your heroin dealer, and they come and they put the heroin under the mat, take the $20, and they're on their way, and you get your heroin.
And the triangle that connects the dead.
Somebody overdoses, everybody wants to go and get that.
The police and the medical community, there's a step that's missing. People are dying.
It's still easy, but you certainly don't have to go out. They come to your door now.
You text your heroin dealer, and then you just can put $20 under your front mat, and they come and they put the heroin under the mat, take the $20, and they're on their way, and you go out and you get your heroin.
She 1.5 ounce. That's $100 a gram I was charging her. It's fired, and she can try it before she buys.
It's easy for me to just drive normally and come to your house and make the delivery and keep going. Brother, that's less attention by cops. Lately, nowadays, they see more younger people deal with it than usual, than normal that I've ever seen. Usually I'm used to dealing with older people. The youngest I've had was like 17. Then once I found out the age, I'm like, hey man, you know what you're getting yourself into.
I know it's good, and like that's the thing is when somebody overdoses on the dope from somebody, everybody wants to go and get that.
I've been to treatment out in Tennessee and had people there been like, you know, what do they put in the water in Roswell and Alpharetta? And I was like, what do you mean? They're like, you know, we get so many kids from Roswell and Alpharetta. And I remember back then saying, you know, it's kids with too much money and nothing to do.
Where are people using it?
In their bedrooms, in their $450,000 homes, in their offices, in their places of work, in their cars, in their friends' homes, anywhere. People that need heroin, it doesn't matter.
I see in our wealthy suburbs up here a perfect storm.
Fulton County, Cobb County, DeKalb County are our primary ones that we're getting information on.
Name, date of birth, date of death, and where the person died. This is the list. We found about 40 young people who all passed away of heroin-related deaths, and all of them are in our triangle, in that geographic triangle.
25-year-olds.
My age.
All
Most of them
died.
are my age.
And they're all from this area.
Yep.
Heroin.
Yes, heroin. 3 of them were friends with Bobby Christina Brown.
That's Whitney Houston's daughter.
It's Whitney Houston's
And
daughter.
she's dead too.
She's dead. She was also found unresponsive in her Roswell home in the bathtub. Which
And that
is
Roswell home is right here in the
direct,
triangle.
and it's in the hot spot of the
And she
triangle.
was friends with some of these kids.
She was friends with some of these kids. Most of them died within a calendar year of Bobby Christina, and that's when she was found unresponsive.
I hope it's not heroin. We don't want it to be a heroin-related death. We just want to find the answer, and that's what it's about, is getting the answer. We set out to find the truth. It wasn't about Bobby Christina. It was about the 60-plus autopsies we filed, and that's why we went to court today, to get the answers on the one autopsy that was sealed.
She's widely believed to have suffered from a heroin overdose. And if Miss Brown's death is related to this epidemic, then releasing the autopsy report could bring valuable sunshine on the problem.
Heroin specifically, and cocaine both actually, are very rapid metabolizers. So if we're speaking specifically about heroin, the morphine's going to be there for a while.
I always knew her to like pills better, but towards the end it was definitely heroin. I know that even if she wasn't doing heroin daily, that she was doing heroin on a regular basis. I feel like people took advantage of her and always wanted something out of her, and just how she was just vulnerable, especially after her mom died. She was just the sweetest girl.
Next, a mistake by police hides the truth.
They claim that there's been no deaths. I'm not sure I believe that.
This is something we can't ignore.
Those heroin submissions were laced with another very dangerous narcotic.
We live in the land of denial. Drug dealers have become extremely sophisticated.
Heroin dealers deliver now to suburban homes. I mean, heroin is everywhere, and it's cheap.
Make the transaction, hop right back on the highway.
We just live in a complicated society. We don't want to know that there is a problem.
You get a real warm sensation. It kind of feels like pins and needles.
People are literally dying for help, and we're not giving them the help they need.
Unless there is intervention, the number of deaths are going to spike.
It's been 2 months since we started investigating, and back then, no one was talking about the problem, but the conversation has changed. Now heroin is being talked about everywhere.
And helping people who are battling prescription drug abuse and heroin abuse.
People tell me all the time is the heroin and the drug problems they have.
And that leads directly now to heroin addiction.
So 4 weeks of digging in, what have we really proven?
Well, I think we've proven without a doubt that the number of heroin-related deaths has skyrocketed, nearly 4,000% increase over the last 5 years.
It's really about more than the deaths, though, because the drug has prevailed from the city to the suburbs, and that's showing up in the crime lab, too, with the GBI.
When the GBI crime lab says they have a 400% increase in the number of submissions that they're testing for heroin, that's incredible. Those numbers are shocking.
Suddenly, it's like heroin. It doesn't even make sense to see this much heroin.
People who are taking heroin don't realize that fentanyl has been put in there, and fentanyl is like 25 to 40 times as potent as heroin itself.
And the combination of heroin and fentanyl ended up basically being a lethal combination.
The heroin not only will be less expensive, but it'll be much more potent and will give a much more euphoric high, but also is much more deadly.
You ask some of these local police departments how many people died from heroin. They'll say, what did you hear from Roswell?
Well, I asked them how many deaths they've had in the last 5 years. Turns out, nobody in Roswell has died of a heroin overdose in the past 5 years.
If you ask police.
According to Roswell police.
I have autopsies in this pile that will say otherwise. Heroin overdose death or heroin and fentanyl combination.
In Roswell, as the cause of death, heroin.
Yes.
And we knew that because we had people coming to us saying, my friend here in Roswell died of a heroin overdose a few months ago. I just went to his funeral.
I know several people who have overdosed. It's out here. Like, people don't want to think that it is. Like, it's taboo and, oh, it's Alpharetta and it's not here. It's here. It's definitely here.
They claim that there's been no death. Yeah, I'm not sure I believe that.
Next, we thought our investigation was over, and then something happened that confirmed everything.
And now we know it for sure.
What if it was your child?
Over the past 2 months, our list of heroin-related deaths became about much more than names. We got to know their families and their dreams. And just as we were wrapping up, we were in the very last week of this investigation, the Fulton County District Attorney announced a news conference titled Heroin Crisis. Finally, this issue was in the spotlight.
We asked the audience members to stand if they knew someone who had died as a result of a heroin-related death. And as I recall, Commissioner, about 95% of the people there stood and said that they were acquainted with someone.
This one shows the number of fatal overdoses, these blue dots.
Right. We had a lot of rumors and a lot of anecdotal stories about where the deaths occurred. And now we know it for sure.
You wanted to prove it. This confirms everything we found.
Yes.
It confirms everything you found. What can we do now together to get this information out?
Well, one of the ways that we do it is alerting people, educating people, but calling people to action.
What if it was your child? What if it was the person you loved most on this earth? Do you want that person to have an opportunity to have a second chance? Or a third or a fourth chance?
Mothers call me every day, from inside the prison, from outside the prison of heroin addiction. They call me every day, ask me for help. So I'm asking my community to help me, help them.
There's so much shame and guilt associated with your child dying from an overdose. And when my son died, I just made the decision that I just wasn't going to let that stop me.
The one thing over and over again, I can still hear her saying it when I think about her voice. It's one of the things that I always hear is, please understand. Please try to understand. So I guess if there was one thing that I could say to her now, I would say I understand.
Next, we follow the path of recovery.
It's been about an 8 to 10 year battle for me.
And find stories of hope.
We have been through, I would say, 4 years of hell and then a year and a half of really good times.
We're hope dealers. We used to be dope dealers, now we're hope dealers.
So tell me about this meeting.
So we're going to a meeting of the Davis Direction Foundation, which was formed by Missy Owen and her family after she lost her son Davis to an overdose.
The organizers, they're small town moms that got hit, totally surprised by drug use of their kids.
Yeah, I think it's totally a hopeful situation because these individuals who are in recovery and often have hard times getting a job or reacclimating into society, they're getting a place to go, a place that's their own to help them rehabilitate themselves and get the help they need.
When you think of people in recovery, what do you think of?
Tough.
Tough.
Strong.
Tough.
Yeah.
Badass.
Resilient.
Right.
Persevering. Is that a word?
Persevering is a word. Yeah. We're trying to keep a focus on the fact that there's over 20 million of us, of people in long-term recovery.
I'm Katie and I'm in recovery. Hi guys. What's good with me is just being able to wake up and not have to rely on drugs to get me through, and being able to have friends that truly care about me and my recovery, and being able to not do this alone. And to be able to be there for my daughter today. That's a really good feeling, so I'm glad to be here.
It's been about an 8 to 10 year battle for me. I think there's this stigma that's associated with heroin, like it's it's so taboo and it's such a step up, even though when it comes down to it, it's not much different than the pharmaceutical drugs. It's just a cheaper, more efficient way of using it. And as crazy as it sounds, you develop this relationship with the drug that's stronger than any relationship with a person, whether it be your mom, dad, wife, kids, whatever it might be. It becomes more important than anything else.
Our family has finally begun that hard process of healing, and we are back together. We actually have great conversations and do stuff together and laugh again, which we weren't laughing at all for a while.
You can get to the other side of this. I mean, there's almost 24 million Americans that live in recovery from addiction. That's a tremendous amount of people. We have been through, I would say, 4 years of hell and then a year and a half of really good times. It is shocking. Most recovery places, it is a minimum of $25,000 a month. But on the flip side of that, my daughter now has almost 2 years clean. She's a student at Texas Tech University. She's active in the recovery community. He was a quiet kid, never gave us any trouble. He'd be the last person I would have thought would have gotten into this. Later we found out he was doing this in the basement, right under our noses. There's a tremendous amount of hope in this.
We're hope dealers. We used to be dope dealers, now we're hope dealers. So this is where you go to be a hope dealer, right? And we're putting a face and a voice on recovery.